I'm going to be talking about a very basic concept, which is the anatomy of the blockade. Now, we're going to have to take as a point of departure for this show that a blockade exists when the access between people who need humanitarian aid and people who have humanitarian aid and seek to deliver it is deliberately blocked. That's a blockade. The blockade is only over when every deliberate obstacle is removed and people are able to receive aid. There's 1,000 reasons why humanitarian aid sometimes doesn't reach the intended target, but we're just worried about the deliberate ones. There are 3 critical choke points in the humanitarian blockade of Tigray. The first involves humanitarian supplies like food and medicine. Second choke point is fuel, and the third is access within Tigray. This chart shows the traffic of humanitarian goods and fuel into Tigray in 2022, according to the monthly logistics cluster reports. They need 100 trucks to enter Tigray every day in order to mount an effective response to the Tigray famine. The only month that came close was June. Likewise, fuel tankers. They need around 2 million liters of fuel every month to enter Tigray in order to get the food dispatched from the capital to the places where it's needed. That's fuel, medicine, agricultural supplies, shelter items, any life-saving supplies. It needs fuel to be able to be transported from the capital to the places that have people in need. The third layer is access. As you can see from the map here, most of the northern border with Eritrea is an area of access denial for humanitarian assistance. This means that not only are trucks not able to enter it from outside of Tigray, even from within Tigray, even from within the capital, they can't get trucks there. These are the areas of occupied Tigray where either the Eritreans and the Ethiopian military are holding it or the Amhara regional government. All of those places are areas of access denial. Now, the Ethiopian government says they're providing humanitarian assistance in western Tigray, the western zone of Tigray. It's unclear if that's actually happening or not, and the government has been demonstrated to not be a very honest broker when it comes to information about humanitarian assistance. Now, when you look at how these things interact, it seems pretty obvious, but let's go through it. In April, they lifted the blockade. Food was able to travel into Tigray, a small amount of food to start off. Remember, they need about 3,000 trucks a month, 100 trucks a day. So they didn't hit that at all, but they came close to it on June. But you see that the distribution of food did not increase until September. Why is that? That's because they didn't have enough fuel. If you look at the next chart, this shows when fuel entered Tigray, and it shows when distribution began to increase again. It corresponds better with fuel than it does with food because they already had the food that had been delivered months before. This is a blockade. This isn't conflict or war stopping the supply. There is no road that is safe for food to travel that is unsafe for a fuel tanker to travel. That's not the issue here. The issue is deliberately withholding these supplies, deliberately blocking them, refusing to grant authorization for those to get in. The point that I'm trying to make here is very simple. A blockade exists when there are deliberate obstacles in between communities that desperately need aid and humanitarian agencies who are willing to provide it. Each of the obstacles that you see can be lifted by the Ethiopian government or the Eritrean government in some cases where their forces occupy parts of Tigray, or the Amhara regional government where their forces occupy parts of Tigray. until these obstacles are gone, there's still a blockade. I don't care if we see a convoy going into Tigray. I don't care if we see a tanker going into Tigray. It's only a political victory. An incremental progress is only a political victory until the food gets to the people who need it. The medicine gets to the people who need it. And it is a disturbing trend to see people, particularly high-ranking world leaders, humanitarian administrators, UN officials, celebrate 200 trucks going into Tigray when they know, better than anybody else, they know that that food is not getting to the people who need it. So we are going to wait until all of the obstacles are lifted before we say that the siege of Tigray is lifted.